I mean, we are ready. Yeah, we are ready.
Hello? Hello? Okay, let me almost start with this particular statement. No society of the barriers it refuses to break, and no university can claim excellence without equity. Good morning to our distinguished speakers, respected academics, policy influencers, and participants joining us live from different parts of Africa and around the world. Speaking to you is Hayatuddin Muhammad Abdallah. I'm honored to welcome you to this virtual gathering organized by the Association of African Private Universities, based in Kano, to commemorate the World Day of Social Justice 2026. Today's theme, Breaking Barriers, Building Futures, a social justice blueprint for equitable higher education, speaks directly to the urgent need for inclusion, fairness, and equal opportunity within our universities. As institutions that shape minds and societies, we must continually examine how to remove barriers and create pathways that ensure access and success for all. Today, we are honored and privileged to host distinguished speakers who will share insights and practical strategies for advancing social justice in higher education across the continent. So our dear participants online and offline, as you engage from your various locations, we encourage you to participate actively, share insights in the chat, and connect with fellow participants. Let this digital space become a hub of ideas, collaboration, and bold solutions for a more just and equitable future in higher education. Once again, you're all welcome, and let's get started. I'm sure our participants would like to know the personalities we have put together today to share their insight and perspective regarding the subject of discussion. Permit me, on this note, to introduce the convener of this important occasion. He is Professor Adamu Abakar Gwarzo. He is the president and founder of Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria, the founder of Mariam Abacha American University of Niger, the founder of Canadian University of Nigeria, Abuja, and at the same time, the founder of Franco-British International University, Kaduna. He is at the same time the president of the Association of African Private Universities, headquartered in Kano State, Nigeria. Permit me to introduce the speaker, our lead speaker for this important conversation. He is Dr. Abdulatif Wale Adeyemo, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Law, Islamic University in Uganda. Can we please put hands together for him? We have 4 discussants for this session. The first discussant will be Professor Farhia Mohammed, who is the Director of Women and Social Affairs from the University of Kabri Dahar, Ethiopia. Our next discussant is Professor Mukhtar Imam, who is the Director, National Institute of Security Studies, Abuja, Nigeria. Again, we have Murtala Adogi Muhammad, the founder and CEO of System Strategy and Policy Lab. He is one of the discussants for this event. Our last but not the least discussant is Awal Ibrahim Musa, popularly known as Rafsanjani. He is the Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, and at the same time, the head of Transparency International Nigeria. And I learned that Professor Rafsanjani is yet to join, but he will soon join us online. So here in the physical audience, I have the honor to introduce the Secretary General of the Association of African Private Universities, headquartered in Kano. He is no other than Professor Abubakar Sadiq Haruna. Professor Abubakar Sadiq Haruna is at the same time the director of the Institute of Africa Higher Education, Research and Innovation, Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria. This is the research arm of this prestigious university, Mariam Abacha. We also have here another important personality from the Association of African Private Universities, Engineer Bashir Muhammad Garba. Thank you. Moving forward, I would like to invite Professor Abubakar Sadiq Haruna to give us an opening remark. Thank you so much, Prof. You have the mic.
All right. Thank you very much. Distinguished scholars, our guest speaker, Dr. Adeyemo from the Dean of the Faculty of Law of the Islamic University in Uganda. I want to, and other distinguished scholars from various their respective units of Professor Farhiya Muhammad from the Kadohara University in Ethiopia. We also have Professor Mukhtar Imam, the directing staff of the National Institute of Security Studies in Abuja, in Nigeria. Of course, a friend and an erudite scholar and a policy strategist, Murtala Adogi Muhammad, Dr. Murtala Adogi Muhammad, and our other expected scholars who will join us soon, because the discussion is going to be a robust one, because we have scholars from various sections who shall be joining us soon. I welcome you all to this very important discussion. On behalf of the founder, who expect him to be here with us anytime from now, or even joining us from his point, his angle, who is unavoidably at this moment, he has pledged to participate from wherever he is before the discussion winds off. I want to, on behalf of the president of the Association of African Private Universities and the entire members of the association, welcome you all to this very important event. It is a major, in fact, this kind of discussion is a measure of our shared humanity. We are all aware of the fact that university education is marred, especially in the developing countries like Africa, with a lot of issues and issues that have implications on equity and inclusivity. So on this World Day, which of course was celebrated yesterday, that was 20th, we ask ourselves a lot of simple questions. Are we building a world where everyone has a fair shot or a fair slot into university or education system, where our background, or does our background actually speaks when we come to accessing university education? These are the kind of issues which maybe today's discussion shall be centered on. So today, we want to remind ourselves of the struggles that many of educational advocates, of course, have been carrying on. And we actually want to join them in revamping this struggle to ensure that, irrespective of our backgrounds, every African child, does every African child has this potential or this capacity of accessing university education? So these are kind of things that we feel today's discussion is going to reflect on. So as we participate in this discussion, the Association of African Private University is also watching with keen interest how our member institutions implement such kind of, or give enable environment for African child to have fair education. So without waste of time, I enjoy every one of us to feel free, especially those participating from their various ends, to feel free and send input. If you have access to talk, please feel free to participate in this discussion so that we can have a clear hold, or have a clear hold on things that can, or issues that can turning point for African education, especially the higher education system. And if you do not have access to speak, please, you can communicate, you can share your views through the chat box, and we'll respond to them effectively. So once again, I welcome you, and I thank all those that have spent their time to link up with us today, and hope that in subsequent event, you will also spare your time to participate actively. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful session.
Thank you so much, Professor Abubakar Sadiq Haruna, for these remarks. I believe by now our participants online will truly agree with me that we have more than enough scholars who have the expertise and the experience to adequately speak on this particular topic of today's discussion. So I would like to, first and foremost, before handing over the mic to our guest speaker, say a few words about him, because our participant will definitely want to know who the speaker is. Our lead speaker holds an LLB, NBCL, and a PhD with research focus on Islamic banking and finance. He has over 30 years of experience in Islamic law, common law, legal practice, and Islamic banking and finance. He is also a senior lecturer and currently serves as Dean of the Faculty of Law at the Islamic University in Uganda. His areas of specialization include Sharia law, comparative law, business and commercial law, and Islamic banking and finance. Over the years, he has combined teaching with active legal practice, bringing practical experience into the classroom and public lectures. Dr. Adeyemo has taught at various universities and has contributed to curriculum development at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. His academic interests cover Islamic jurisprudence, banking law, labor law, administrative law, human rights law, and alternative dispute resolution. He is the author of several books, including Ethical Legal Issues in the Nursing Profession, The Historical Development of Islamic Jurisprudence, and Ijara Lease Contract and Islamic Banking Products. He doesn't stop there. Dr. Adeyemo also serves as editor-in-chief of the Comparative Law Journal at the Islamic University in Uganda and sits on the editorial boards of several international journals. He is the recipient of multiple academic and professional awards and is a member of professional bodies, including the International Lawyers Association and the Association of Nigerian Muslim Lecturers. I have so many things to say about him because of the time frame. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Adeyemo. Can we please put hands together for him? And at this point, I would like to honorably hand over the mic to our next speaker for his presentation. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, anywhere you are. Actually, we firstly have to thank Almighty Allah for the opportunity given to every one of us to be part and parcel of this wonderful program today. At the same time, I have to seize this opportunity also to thank the president and the chairman of this powerful association, all the executive members, then the organizing committee of this association, particularly this program today. May Almighty Allah be with you and every one of us.
I'm very sorry, sir, to interrupt you. I'm very sorry, sir. I forgot to mention that the guest speaker has 40 minutes for his presentation, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So inshallah, I will be able to adjust so that within that time, and then this is 1:40. I think around 40 minutes to 2. So thank you very much. I think we can move down to the business. Today, as the president said, or the former speaker, the person that opened this program said that yesterday was World Day of Social Justice. I think let me enter to that area with my topic. The topic says breaking barrier. What do we understand by the word barrier? It is meant that to the gap, there's a gap. We discovered that there's a gap between well-to-do citizens and then who have less privilege. We also discovered that those poor people, poor citizens in each society, they find it difficult to acquire the necessary education, especially in the tertiary institution. How are we going to balance the equation? Who is responsible for that? Is it those children? Are they the parents? As well as, is it you or me or the government? So we are going to see and the topic also building for the future. How are we going to make the future very easy for the incoming generation? All of us, we are enjoying now. Are we preparing for them? If we are preparing for them, we are going to know about it today. If our preparation is not enough, we are going to know about it today. Then the topic also leading to social justice. What do we mean by the word social justice? What is the meaning of social justice? The social justice simply means that equitable. However, we make everything easy for the citizen. equitable, so that all the citizens can be able to do what? To have access to education, whether from the well-to-do or less privileged, then they must be able to have access to education. Oh, then beside that one also, sorry, this powerful. So what we are saying here is that then what are the way and manner we are preparing for our, this is not moving. Why? The PowerPoint is not moving. I'm sorry, the PowerPoint here is not moving. What happened? Okay, okay. So it's not moving like. The PowerPoint. Okay. Is it moving? Okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, which slide exactly do you want us to? Okay, the next slide.
One. Maybe you can be moving it in your own side.
Okay.
The help one.
Okay.
Maybe you start from 1, 2, or.
Okay, go back. Is this okay?
Yes, you move back.
Back.
Where have you reached? Are we going back?
Yes, we are going to the starting point. The first one, are you going to be controlling it there?
Okay, how do you want it?
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Go to the first one. First slide. This is the conclusion. Go to the first slide.
I don't see how to go back.
This is what can we use this one?
Yeah, please, so that we can have just one control.
Okay, so I stop here, then I leave.
Okay, let's let the operator controls from here. I think
okay.
He will tell us the slide, we're just going straight.
Okay. Go to the first slide.
Is that enough?
Go up again, up again. That is not. Okay, so go to the second one. Yeah. And this one?
Yes. There are two arrows. There is this.
Okay.
So it will be the one we click on.
That is not good. Sorry, good it.
So here when you click
better so now, as I'm saying, this is the social justice. That is to say, to go to slide 2 and 3. Is it here?
Click.
Okay. So now, as what I'm saying, now, to build it up, building future, are we preparing for the new generation to come? If we are preparing for them, what are the way and manner? Building the future. How are we going to build the future for them? By way of reforming admission system. We are talking about higher institution, tertiary institution. Sometimes, if we are saying that 60% will be the cutoff, what will be the remedy or the future or the opportunity to give the student who score 40% when we are talking about admission? We should not neglect them. It is a duty of a government to have what we call something related to remedial courses then pre-entering into university program. So those students that they are able to score 40, then they can be able to register either for 6 months or for 1 year in order to acquire more knowledge so that they can be able to redo the exam and then they get the admission. Then we are talking about how to build the future for them. The school fees, tutors' fees must be affordable to all, even to the poor citizen. We must be able to make sure that the tutor fees has to be affordable to them. Beside that one also, we have to consider the issue of environment also, the areas. It was discovered that in majority of our universities in Africa, cited in the capital, the big city, are about the rural areas. We neglect them. The government has to look into this one also, so that we emulate, we encourage people from the rural area too. Then the implementing cultural relevance, we must able to encourage the culture, the ethics, the system of our forefather, we equate them and then we reintroduce them into what we call a modern education. Then the issue of maybe something like cultural dispute and then religious dispute or whatever may be the case, in as much as we educate our children well, then there may not be anything related to ethics or ethnics, this thing. So these are the things that we have to take into consideration if we are trying to build the future for our children. When we peruse the holy books of God, Quran, it talk, the first revelation revealed to prophet is Quran chapter 96, verse 1 to 5. Directly, it talk about the knowledge, seek knowledge. All these verses related that the importance of knowledge in the human life. Beside that one also, check the Holy Bible also. He also talk about the knowledge. John 8:32 and the rest of it, encouraging human being to seek for knowledge. In as much as these two holy books, which we believe, talk about the knowledge, there's no way we can be able to observe or to do what Almighty Allah said that we should do to satisfy Him, except we seek for knowledge. It is mean that seeking, looking for knowledge is compulsory in the life of we human beings. I believe I've already discussed this area. You talk about the definition of justice, relating it to the blueprint. Now, my dear listener, when we are talking about the issue of blueprint, social justice, it denoted that it is the way and manner in which the government put it down, black and white. A blueprint is a strategic plan, the plan of a government. Then the roadmap of a government in which the government will continue working towards it. We are going to see, is there any rules, regulation motivating you and me to seek for knowledge? Even if we are seeking for knowledge, who's supposed to provide it to make everything for us? So it's what we are going to discuss and see today. You see the logo denoted that the law. Now, Article 50 of the Geneva Convention, 1949, denoted that it is the government, the state, to provide the education. Beside that one also, Article 28 also talk about the education, Article 28 of the convention. We are coming down to it. Beside that one, in as much as this association is relating to African also. Then Article 17 and Article 25 of African Charter on Human People's Rights denoted that it talk about the education and then who is going to provide the education. Now, sorry, can you, hello? Then, please,
Yes, sir, we can hear
I
you.
need, eight, slide 8,
Okay.
8, please,
Yeah.
because he stated all of them. 8, slide 8. Slide 8, because this is 10, I need 8. After this one, there's another one. Yes. No, there's another one. Okay, in nutshell, let me continue, whether it's there or not. So, Article 17 of the Article 17 sub 1 of African Charter Human and People's Rights said that education is compulsory. Then, for the children, for the citizen. My question here is, who is going to provide the education? Article 25 of the same People's Convention, People's Rights, answered the question. He said government of the country should provide education. Now, is it not duty bound on you and me, either to find one way or the other to let the government knows their rights? If you peruse all the constitutions of all the countries, there's no any constitution in Africa or in the world that's silent about the education. It is mean that we have the government, we are also the thank you very much. This is exactly what I want. So now, so what I'm saying now is that based on this one, Article 17.1 said that every individual shall have right to education. The question is, who is going to provide it? 25 answered that the government, the state, it is the duty, direct duty of the state to do what? To provide education. Now, we don't need, we have to do what? To remind the government to provide suitable education. How are they going to provide this type of education to the citizen? So now, to number slide 9, please. Now, we said that it is the government to provide the education to us because the Constitution stated that the citizens supposed to acquire the knowledge. Actually, the parent has to assist the government, but we should not be able to sleep and watching government. We have to, because we are the government. Government is us. So we have to use our influence or whatever we have to remind them based on what they put in black and white. Then we also talk about the gap, how to break the gap. These are the mechanisms to be used to break the gap on between the rich citizen and then the low privilege in the society. The issue of admission. For example, there are some professional courses that the less privileged in the society cannot be able to afford the payment of the school fees, or even they cannot be able even to penetrate to be a student. So the government has to look into this one. Then admission reform. Those students that remain either 2 mark or 3 mark or whatever may be the case, establishments of a remedial, so that they can be able to bring off affordability of the school fees. The school fees, or the government has to guarantee them to provide, not only giving them either to pay them for the school fees alone, no, housing, transportation, as well as conducive the environment which they can be able to be in the good environment of institutions. Because when you go to some federal universities, so let's hide that one. Now, number 3, targeted outreach. We have to go, the government has to mobilize people to go to the villagers, to let them see the beautiful of education. The beautiful, they have to talk to the community, encouraging them, so that they themselves can be able to find one way or the other to educate their children, and then clinic education too. The knowledge acquired in the class will go together with some of the students, and then they exhibit the knowledge, the skill knowledge, to the community. The government policy also has to give room for the less privileged in society, so that they can be able to acquire more knowledge. It's not of putting something in blue and white and then we just put it somewhere. No, it has to be practicalized. Another slide, please. Slide, another one, so that, yes, another slide. Now, we talk about building inclusive environment and support system. How are we going to build it? By way of a cultural competency. Then, the acquired staff, members of the staff, both academic or non-academic, then we have to identify them, and then the issue of a bias has to be taken away in their mind. Beside that one also, mental health, we have to go to grassroots to let the students, we give them the counsel, we counseling them. We let them know, no, you are not good to read law. You're good to read social science. No, social science is not the way we are saying you now. You're supposed to go for medical counseling. It's part and parcel of it. Beside that one also, safe spaces. However, then the cultural center, the group, as well as student leaders of the student group and then community group, we have to liaise together with them, so that from the grassroots, then they themselves can be able to see the support from the government, as well as they themselves can be able to support the government policy also. The data equity here, what we mean here is that we have to close something like a tribalism, and then the socio-economic gap. We must be able to fill them up. Another slide, please. Another slide. Now, beside that one also, if it is true that we want to break the gap, as well as we are planning for the future of income, we have to redesign pedagogy as well as curriculum. However, the culturally responsive teaching, by way of what? Cultural value. Our culture, we have to value it. Beside that one also, we have to make the study easy for the student. We encourage them. It's not a do or die affair. We encourage, even there, if we discover that the student is not serious, we call the student into order. So these are the things. Then, universal design for learning. Here is that universal design, locally based on the development of the world today, online lecture, study, AI, and some other things. We must also provide a suitable condition for our disabled. We must take them along. Let them see the beauty of education, the classroom. They must be able to have access to classroom because they are disabled. They are part and parcel of us. We should not neglect them. Then the flexibility learning, we must be able to make everything easy for the student by way of providing online. Even if we discover that there are some students who has a family, then accommodation for the student with family, so that they themselves, they can be able to know that, okay, they have a bright future. Now, yes, another slide. Institutional and systemic changes, equitable resources allocation. The government, when providing fund, then it has to be sent at a center. What I mean by that is that it will be given to all due citizens who are entitled to it. It's not like, okay, my father is a governor, then definitely I will be entitled to. No, it has to be general one, so that all those less privileged can be able to have access to it. Their accountability. Now, here also, we are talking about the issue of equity auditing. Sometimes the government may give money, but to account it, it also we find it difficult. All those things has to be accountable for therein. Then the total number of the students and then who are able to benefit from the fund, or then these are the remaining money, or we need all these things, or this we need and the additional one too. Then partnership. We have a collaboration system. However, the government must be able to collaborate with the society organization as well as an individual. So from there, then we can be able to reach into our goals. Another slide, please. Now, what are the principles of a blueprint? Now, as I said that disabled, we must be able to consider them. It has to be written in the law that disabled also should be providing, we must provide education, quality education to disabled. Then, beside that one, shifting from the equity to justice. Now, any written down law, enactment, edit, bill has to be followed in practice. Beside that one also, we must treat all the citizens equally. Then the justice has to be prevailed in all whatever we are doing. The last one, not the least, is a powering critical consciousness. Here, it means that in as much as we are educating students, we are planning for their own future. The issue of a bias, oppression, or whatever may be the case, we have to eradicate it totally. Another slide. Another slide, please. Now, strategies for equitable higher education. What are the strategies to be used? Equitable admission, as I discussed it. Then even seeking for work requirement and recruitment, we also discussed something relating to that. And then implementation also. All those laws, data, or whatever may be the case, under the socio-economic has to be followed, and then each and everybody has to do the responsibility due to them. Another slide. Another slide, please. Slide, okay, financial redesign here also. Then there's a what we call Pell Grant. This one is a grant in which if government introduces it, they give the student a grant for tutors to pay the school fees, as well as all the other miscellaneous expenses also. But this grant, the student may not pay the grant back as usual. And then standardized transfer pathway. However, anything relating to the issue of either the payment of school or we are giving loan, whatever may be the case, the issue of taxation has to be off totally. So, yes, another slide. Yes, socially justice pedagogy. Here also, we shift all those old design to the new design now, new way of learning, and then as well as a culturally responsive teaching to value the first student identity. Yes. Then institutional governance. It is duty or a duty of a government to create framework, legal framework, which will make the social justice perfectly in the society, so that social justice is a standing agenda item for university leadership and board. So we have to look into this one thoroughly. Then moving here also, it is mean that when we are talking about collaborative or to collaborate, all the multi-institutional engagement, then we have to exchange their idea so that the future of our newborn baby will be bright also. It is meant that we are taking care for them. Yes, another slide. Now, what are the legal framework to be reformed? How are we going to reform? In a situation, if there are some lacunas in the law, how are we going to reform them? By way of redistributing of a financial and academic resources to reach underprivileged students in the society. Beside that one also, we have to recognize the value of our cultural capital as well as the student background, especially when we are trying to reform this type of a law or legal framework. Beside that one also, representative order, that is to say the decision making has to look into grassroots so that all they will be able to cover the grassroots and then to see the problem of a less privilege in the society. The conciliation, there are some areas, some culture, as well as some people in which they are having maybe one way or the other. We have, government has to penetrate to solve all these ethics problem so that they can join hands together to move up. What are the challenges that we are having? There are some culture or society in which they deprive the female education. So here we have to look into that. And then the offer also, not all the offer, some of them cannot be able to acquire education because of a lack of a sponsor. Then enforcement, we talk about the law. We also discuss about the defined law. We talk about Bible, Quran, which are defined law. Beside that one also, we talk about the provision of the convention, how we follow the law. So, however, we have to make sure that all this type of law, then we put it into practice. Then inconveniences also. Some political, especially when they are campaign free education, by the time they are able to get the power, they provide free education. But the lack of a continuity, immediately the tenures of that particular political party lapsed, another one came. At the end of the day, the issue of a free education will be over totally. Another slide. Another slide, because of the time. Yes, recommendation. So I recommend that one, higher education blueprint must be for equity, action, and social justice. It has to be a balance. Then, not balance alone, it has to be action, not to put it down, then as well as it will lead to social justice, so that each and every citizen can be able to enjoy. The government policy also must give each and every citizen free access to college or university education. They said that one also, admission has to be free once a student is qualified. It's not a matter that, okay, my father is a chief, and then beside, because of that, then he has to go and meet the man in charge. Or no, everything has to be free. Then the tertiary institution fees has to be affordability. So all those things, and then the way to seek for knowledge has to be free or easy. Another slide, please. Yes. In a situation when government provide funding, grant, it has to go round for those who can be able to benefit from that. Beside that one also, the government grant on fund must be able to go at a local level, like a local government, local district, and then those who are in the grassroots. So we have to consider to make sure that it reaches, because sometimes when the grant or government fund came up, it is those people in power can be able to have access, or those who are in the those people, those privileged people that have access to it. Besides that one also, we have to close the issue of ethnics and then socio-economic gap. Let's balance everything so that all the citizens can be able to enjoy this. Then Pell grant also has to be easy, and then all the students can be able to have access to it. Besides that one, then Equitable, which he has to cross the university as well as the citizen also. Yes, another slide, please. Then along the side of my recommendation is that all the states as well as the university, it has be to be easily accessed by the low-income citizen, as well as to have access to the grant. Beside that one also, payment of the school fees. In a situation when the government is paying the school fees, it's supposed not to be for the payment of school fees alone. All those facilities also, they have to take it into consideration also. Beside that one also, so that the lower privileged in the society can be able to acquire knowledge, and then it will lead our future generation too. Yes, another slide. Okay. Finally, when we are talking about social justice is aiming to dismantle systemic inequity. However, we want everything to be a balance between the well-to-do and then the person who are less privileged in the society, and provide truly inclusive access. They can have access either to education, to their right. Then the world blueprint move beyond simple diversity. However, blueprint has to be advocating for the fundamental innovation of an institutional policy and the pedagogy. I think, yes. Another slide. So with this one, I thank the organizer as well as our listener, and then the operators. So I believe I will not go beyond my time too much. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for this powerful and thought-provoking presentation. I would like to, first and foremost, commend you for keeping to time, sir. And I also want to say that this presentation has clearly demonstrated your remarkable passion and dedication to advancing fairness and equal opportunity in higher education. Thank you so much, sir, for lending your voice, your expertise, and your passion to such an important conversation. I must say that your works and your commitment is not only breaking barriers, it is truly building futures for all. Thank you so much for having
Thank
me
you.
here to make this excellent presentation. I would like to ask the participants to please give another round of applause for this part. Before
Thank you.
the questions and answers, I would like to move to the next session, which is the discussion session. And as earlier mentioned, we have 4 discussants for this important conversation. The first discussant is Dr. Farhia Muhammad, who is the Director of Women and Social Affairs at the University of Kabri Dahar, located in the Somali region of Ethiopia. She is a lecturer in health science and actively engaged in academic and research activities. Dr. Farhia is at the University of Kandahar. She serves as director of the Gender Office and is recognized as a female researcher contributing to institutional research development. And I would like to say, as you all note, that she is the only female discussant among the 4 discussants. So can we please put hands together for her? Thank you so much. You have the mic, Dr. Farhia.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you all. I truly appreciate being here in this link or in this so with you all. So thankful for the Association of African Private University who give me or who invite me to be in this webinar. So I really appreciate that. So before I dive into our topic, I would like to say celebration of Happy World Day of Social Justice. This is what here we like. This is the event that gather us here today. So shall I? Because Dr. Abu Bakr early on almost introduced me, so I think I will dive into our topic if that is okay for you. Can I see my PowerPoint?
Yeah, before your slide is ready, Dr. Farhia, you have 10 minutes for your discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll make sure to take that. So can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, our topic is about breaking barrier, building future, a social justice blueprint for equitable higher education. As you can see here, this carry a significant meaning for getting equitable higher education. That will we as a team will gonna make sure to have a hint to where we can find equitable higher education. So next slide, please. So before we dive into our blueprint and how we can plan a future plan for equitable higher education, I would like to try to say that social justice. What is meaning of social justice? Social justice is based on the concept that all individuals in a given society deserve fair and equitable access to resource and opportunity. That means every individual in the society has a right to have a free will and also to have access to resource and opportunity. And this fair access is to resource and opportunity might lead to equitable treatment, fair allocation of the common resource, and the fair relation between the individual and the society that result in just distribution of wealth. So that's the meaning of social justice. We have to know that every single of you have a right to have access to education, opportunity, and resource Next slide, please. So if we see the relationship between the social justice and higher education, as we know, social justice in university means creating inclusive academic environment where every student has access to quality education, resource, and opportunity for success. We talk about the social justice. So the higher education is the one of the main that social could manage or could have access to decay themselves. And that means each or every individual or every student in this university have a equal access to the qualification as well as the resource and the opportunity to be succeed in the future. And also it emphasizes the fairness in the admission, like every student have a right to admit and learning condition, as well as the academic support and leadership participation. All of it, it'll have to be equal among the students. And also universities serve not only as center of knowledge, but also as an institution that promote equality, empowerment, and social transformation. University is not the only place or is not only the place that give education, but as well it also promote the quality being um, being a student is have to be respect each other, as well as to believe that your classmate or your friend has equal access to all the source that you need to have it in your life or during your education. Next slide, please. So if I highlight the how Ethiopian higher education work, and if I give a brief explanation how does Ethiopian higher education was look like. Ethiopian has a significant expand its higher education system over the past 2 decades to increase the access and participation. As we know, government established more than 47 universities across different regions to reduce the education inequality and promote inclusive. As we know, that university is one of the university that I'm working with it right now, as more than 47 university government established across different region, so that every student have that free will to educate in his region, and also to be a student and to be a teacher, not to go far away from his region, so that he can have a quality or he can have a education. So this highlight or this show that government have improved a lot to establish or to promote inclusive development for all the students. And despite this progress, challenge remain in ensuring access, quality education, and adequate support service for the students from disadvantaged background. Still, we're facing a challenge, not only the education, but also as a lack of financial stability. Still there is a progress. We are doing our best, but still there is a challenge we are facing right now. But I hope so in the future we can manage to minimize those challenges, so that every student or every social have access to a lot of resources. Next slide, please. Okay, let me come back. What does breaking barrier key area? As we know, every country have its own challenge. So if whenever we want to manage some challenge, we have to know the main point that we have to tackle with it, right? So these are the parts. I is very huge. We cannot put it here because of the minimum of the time. So I just minimize it as a 6 point. So that is very crucial for this to fix and to be part of the part of the future plan to have an equitable higher education. One of those are promoting a gender equality through the woman empowerment program and leadership opportunity. That means we have to give a hand to the women's to have an equal source of education, and also to be a leadership in the future, and to have an opportunity like other male do. The second one are providing a financial and academic support for disadvantaged students. This is one of my work as a director of the gender office. We manage to give financial support for the students who cannot pay themselves as the daily material. So each month we give them a financial money to at least recover their need. And also academic support, we support students who have a low grade performance, so that we can at least they can have a maybe a higher score for that, because in a class maybe student cannot have those things he cannot understand. So giving this kind of class tutorial, it can improve his grade and also his knowledge or her knowledge. So expanding, the other one is to expand a digital learning and technological access. So we live in a world that we use a digital platform across all the world, right? So we have to manage to expand and to learn our students to be useful in the future, that maybe his or her class maybe can be online or can have access quality of education all that time. Next slide, please. So this is a continue. We have a strengthening how we can strengthen our student to give them training and prepare the program for students for emerging regions. Also to improve what? Improve inclusive policy for the student with disability. This is the main point that we have to focus as a academic or as a university level. We have to give the disability student to have access education as well as opportunity like the other students do. So as a material, we have to give them a chance to be equal with the other students that are normal. And also enhancing the community engagement and cultural responsive education. We have to also educate the students how they can enhance the community, how can they deal with the different culture, so that they can be more equitable to have those knowledge. Because knowledge is not about reading, is not about education, it's about respecting each opinion, each culture, different race. We have to enhance that too. Next slide, please. So let's dive into the future plan. Okay, what is going to be the future plan for equitable higher education? If we want to have an equitable higher education, we have to know what we can have, so that we can we can do a clear road so for that equitable higher education. So not only I'm talking about Ethiopia, this strategy that I put here is not only useful in Ethiopia, because it can also implement or can be used in other continents. For example, strengthening institutional capacity is one of the main points. Investing in digital transformation, promoting research relevant to local community, and also developing a partnership between the university and also government institution and international organization. We have to hold hand to do those future plan, so that we can have a access higher education in the future. We can able to do that with helping each other. Next slide, please. Okay, the blueprint for equitable higher education. What does blueprint for equitable higher education means? We have to know what we have to reform, so that those education or those bright future, what what strategy does it need to gain or to hold. So the first one is to policy reform. What does that mean? It is to develop inclusive policy that prioritize equity and accessibility. We have to make a guideline that show the priority, equality, and accessibility. Everyone should know the real deal or the real meaning of equality, or to have access resource among the student. And the second one are capacity building, is to train educator in inclusive and student-centered teaching method. Education is not only for students, it's also for teachers. We have to educate the teachers so that they can give the student a good hint about inclusive teaching method, like that. So the third one is infrastructure developmental. First, we have to improve learning facility. Improving learning facility need to learn, okay? And the digital connectivity, we have to know the digitalization that you have to use it. Next slide, please. So those are still the blueprint for equitable higher education. The gender mainstreaming is one of those. We have to manage to have a equality between the male and female, to have to have access through the academic and administration system, and also in community engagement. The university and community engagement community should have aligned to their program so that they can have a good quality also. And also monitoring and evaluation is that means establishing the system to track the equality outcome and the student success. We have to make a system that track the student progress from day one to the last day of his study, or she or his study. We have to monitor the progress so that we can know this student is getting good grade or a good education or good understanding. So we can do that. Next slide, please. Thank you for all your attention. I would like to thank you all for being here. So here my presentation. If there is any comment or questions or something you guys didn't understand, you have a free will to ask. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Farhia, for this wonderful intellectual discussion. I must say that we really benefited from your wealth of experience, and we are really honored to have you as part of the discussion for this important conversation. Thank you so much once again for this. The next discussant will be Dr. Murtala Adogi Mohammed, who is a futurist, governance strategist, and development policy expert with over 2 decades of experience advancing public sector reforms in Nigeria. He is the founder and executive director of the System Strategy and Policy Lab, where he leads collaborative reforms initiatives with governments and development partners. He is a former UNICEF education specialist and DFIAD education advisor. He has worked with 22 state governors, 6 ministers, and policymakers across 25 states, contributing to impactful reforms in education, youth empowerment, climate change, and governance, including flagship programs such as MAFITA and the conditional cash transfer for girls' education in Kano State. Dr. Murtala holds a PhD in rural geography from the University of Port Harcourt and an MSc in ecology and environmental sustainability from the University of Aberdeen as a Chevening scholar. His academic background also includes degrees from Bayero University, Kano, Ahmad Bello University, Zaria, and the Federal College of Education, Kano, alongside several professional development certifications. Thank you so much, Dr. Murtala, for joining us. And I'd like to hand over the mic to you for your contribution. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this conversation. I don't know whether I'm very loud enough. Can you hear me from that side?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. And so you also have 10 minutes for your discussion. You have 10 minutes for your discussion.
10 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will try and do justice to this 10 minutes. So
All right.
I listened to the late speaker very well, and Professor and Adeyemo, and I also listened to Professor Faria. They made a lot of insightful contribution on expanding space to ensure that the children of the poor have access to higher education. And going with the thematic area for conversation today, I put in a 7-point agenda, but this is not like a Yaradua 7-point agenda. This is my own 7-point agenda for ensuring that we have access to higher education, even for the children at the rural communities. But I want to ask a question, and I want the organizers to please kindly write down these 2 questions. It's very important. At the end of 1 or 2 hours of this conversation, what does success look like to you? I want the organizers to write this down. What does success look like? After we finish all the grammar, after we finish all the conversation, after we finish all the topic, how do you measure success? How do you call this conversation a success? That is number 1. Number 2, after we finish the conversation, which is usual in the African way of doing things, we organize workshop, we organize seminar, we do training, we do online virtual meeting, we commemorate days like this. But if we collectively come up with the 3 or 5-point recommendations, where are we taking it to? If we come up with a 5 solid recommendation at the end of all the conversation, all the discussion, the professors we gather here, the eminent scholars we gather here, the time and the energy and the data we kind of invest into this conversation, where are we taking it to? Who are we engaging? Are we seeing the African Union leaders? Are we engaging the people in Addis Ababa that manage African Agenda 2063? Are we meeting the to them, or are we talking? So I think it's very important we begin to think and okay, where are we taking our message to? Okay, now quick one. My 7-point agenda, after raising 2 fundamental questions. One is the issue of access. You can write number 1, access. When we say access is an opportunity of creating avenue for young people, both girls and boys, to have access to higher education. And now let me give you a simple scenario of what we regard as the pyramid model of from primary school to higher education. We have like a pyramid model. The pyramid model shows that as you go higher, the space is shrinking. Because let's take a local government. Maybe we are familiar with Kano. Let's take a local government in Kano. Maybe we have a Gwale local government in Kano, and we have 80 primary schools in Kano. In Gwale local government alone, we have 80 primary schools. Then, when you go to secondary school level, the secondary school in Gwale become only 10. 10 secondary schools. Then how many universities do we have in Gwale? Maybe none. Or maybe 1. So, I'm not saying that in every local government we must have a 1 university. But this is a scenario to show you how, as far as education is concerned, the higher you go, the space becomes shrink to the level that we have 80 primary schools, 10 secondary schools, 1 university. So let's assume we have a scenario whereby all the children that graduated from primary school now move to secondary school and they want to go to university. Where is the space for them? In the universities. And that is why we have about 1.something million children that start for JAM every year in Nigeria. Let's use Nigeria as a case study. So what we need to advocate first for justice, fairness, and equity is expansion of space to increase access to education. That is my point number 1, access. We need to advocate for expansion of space. We need to expand space. You know, if we cannot have more university, we can have more polytechnic, more colleges of education, so that at least they have access to higher education. That is number 1, access. Number 2, equity. When we talk of equity, we look at rural, urban, equity, boys, girls, equity, poor and rich family, equity, ability and disability, equity, hard to reach areas and easy to reach area, the geography, the location, also equity. So all the equity related issues, are we factoring them into consideration if you want to expand access? So as far as higher education is concerned, now, if you look at some universities, there are more boys than girls. Some universities, there's more boys than girls. I did my PhD in University of Port Harcourt, and when I step into University of Port Harcourt, in fact, you can see like more than 15 girls before you see 5 boys. So in the southern part of the country, there's more girls in the university than the boys. In another part of Nigeria, there's more likely to have more boys than the girls in the university. That is the equity issue. So we need a study that will tell us what are the dynamics, what are the factors that are responsible for this. Why having more girls in the university in southern Nigeria than having more boys in the university in northern Nigeria? And how can we bridge the equity gap? And that is why I like what Professor Faria said, that there's a kind of a support for the girls to have access to education. So under equity, we need to ensure that maybe we have certain cash transfer, maybe a voucher that we can give to the girls to have access to universities in northern Nigeria, and have access to maybe a cash transfer for boys in this northern Nigeria to have higher education. Context African countries to see how we can support other gender to have access to higher education. The poverty, in fact, I normally tell people that as far as education is concerned, 2 factors are very important: geography and economy, whether you like it or not. The economy is the kind of household you came from, the family poverty level. That determines the economy, whether you have access to higher education. The geography is your location. There's a rural area that you can come up from. You might find it difficult to have higher education simply because you are from a rural area. And that's your geography. So the economy and the geography of an individual determine whether that person has higher education. So we need a further study to tell us, okay, because we have issue with geography and economy, how can we support them under equity? Number 2. Number 3, quality. Number 3, quality. My agenda number 3 is quality. When you look at the issue of quality of education, you need to ask yourself a very sincere question. The kind of students we have in the higher education today, are they willing to learn? Is learning really taking place at universities, higher education today? If you are marking 300 scripts, how frustrated you will become to see the kind of response those students are giving you in their script. I was once a lecturer before I ran away from classroom. I lectured for about a couple of 1 or 2 years. I ran away from classroom. So we need to work around the issue of quality. It's not about increasing access, expanding access, building more universities, building more infrastructures. The question we need to ask ourselves is that, is learning really taking place? That is a question that we need to dig deeper and find out. The World Bank report says Nigeria is one of the countries that is suffering from learning poverty. And if you check the latest learning poverty report of World Bank, it says Nigeria has 70% of children at the age of 10 that find it difficult to read and write. I encourage all of us to check the World Bank report on learning poverty. Age 10, that is around primary 2, 3, 4. They can't read and write, 70% of them. So in higher education, we need to work enough to ensure that we improve quality. I can remember in one of the colleges of education that they run computer biology or computer physics or computer chemistry. We have over 200 students in the class and they have only 30 computers. And they're studying computer physics or computer chemistry. 200 students with 30 computers. How is that possible for them to learn? So we need to look at the issue of quality. Then number 4, infrastructures. Fantastically, we are very good in that because we believe development should be physical. So step into any university, you see a lot of TED fund. Sorry, I'm using contextual analysis here because of Nigeria. You see a lot of TED fund, a lot of building, a lot of classrooms, But I think we need to go beyond classrooms. We need to invest more in human capital development. That is the students that are in those universities. But as we are doing that, we are also expanding with infrastructural component and building more toilets, more hostels, more classrooms. Then number 5, system strengthening. What is the kind of system that we have in our universities that manage universities? Last year, December, I was in the Western Cape University in South Africa. In the Western Cape University in South Africa, I've seen a situation whereby every faculty have a student support center. Every faculty have a student support center. A student support center is where a student will come and table his complaint, emotional challenge, social challenge, poverty-related challenge, family challenge. And if you're not comfortable to sit for exam, you can negotiate for your exam in South Africa because you are not mentally okay. You lost your father. Within the next month, you lost your mother. And you have to sit for exam in this week. The trauma of losing your parents will not allow you to concentrate and perform in an exam, so you can renegotiate. I'm not of our African universities, we have that kind of student support center. So this is the system. And on that system, we normally look at about 5 things on the system. We look at the strategy of the university, the staff of the university, the system they operate, the result they want to achieve, and their budget. So step into any university in Africa and ask them a simple question. How much is your annual budget? You can be able to go beyond your annual budget. So that is the kind of system we need to look at. How do students go online and download this result? Apply for transcript. In our current university, we do a lot of things so manually, as if we are in the 00 century. So the system strengthening of a university should begin to be innovative with the AI system that's already on board. How compliant are we with the AI system? How are we willing to go with the AI system? My friend just came from New York a couple of weeks ago to train an organization in Nigeria. They paid him 15 million naira for one session on AI, not only ChatGPT, but how do we apply artificial intelligence in our organization? So whether we like it or not, AI has come to stay. So, but how can we use it ethically? How can we have the adequate way of using it at the institution that will strengthen the system? That is number 5. Then number 6 is crisis and emergency response and learning. When COVID happened in 2019, 2020, 2021, many universities in Africa shut down. Only few private universities began to operate virtually. How sure are we we're not going to experience COVID Pro Max in the next couple of years to come? We might have COVID Plus. We might have COVID Max. We have COVID Pro Max in the next couple of years to come. Are we ready for that? Our universities have crisis and emergency response strategy to withstand a shock whenever there's any other crisis that it's likely coming, like COVID. So I strongly recommend that we begin to think of developing a crisis and emergency response strategy in every university across Africa. That strategy will help us to respond whenever there's any other crisis. We're not praying for it to happen, but in case it happens, we should have the resilience to withstand those kind of crises. Then the last point, number 7, is the funding. No university will succeed with inadequate fund when it comes to expanding access, building more classrooms, ensuring equity and fairness, having more girls or more boys into universities, having every lecturer to have a computer and laptop. Every lecturer should have a microwave and fridge in his office. Every lecturer should have a fantastic working condition. Every lecturer should have an internet that is stable. Every lecturer should have allowances. Every lecturer should have a car loan where he can collect a loan and buy a very good car that will be comfortable. All these are funding mechanisms that in so many universities, like in Western Cape University, I came to realize something that why are the lecturers so comfortable? Like every office you step in, you see a microwave, you see a fridge, you see internet, you see cushion. They said they have fewer permanent lecturers and majority are visiting lecturers or maybe part-time lecturers. So they pay more to those permanent lecturers so that they can stay. So there are so many strategies that we can keep the good ones and begin to manage those that are coming, the younger ones. But the most important thing is that we should begin to review our budget. We can see how cash flow is affecting education. That is why in the African context, so many universities are on strike a couple of years back because they're not being properly taken care of. So I think I put in the guest lecturer presentation and other presentation. I come up with these 7 points. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of this. I'll try as much as possible to be brief. I think 7 minutes of my 10 minutes. If there's an opportunity, I can come back to talk for the remaining 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Murtala Adogi, for this presentation. We've really learned a lot from your discussion. Thank you so much for having the time to be with us today. The next discussant will be Professor Imam. But before I throw out the mic, let me acknowledge the presence of one of our discussants in the person of Awal Ibrahim Musa Rafsanjani, who is the Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, and he is at the same time the head of Transparency International Nigeria. You're most welcome, sir. And we equally have joining us online, the Vice President Administration of Maria Abacha American University of Nigeria, in the person of Dr. Habib Awais Abubakar. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. Moving to the next discussant is Professor Mokhtar Imam, who is a distinguished scholar of international relations and diplomacy with over a decade of experience in academia, having lectured in several universities across Nigeria. Professor Imam is a fellow of the Shanghai Academy of Social Sciences, a senior research fellow with the Center for China Studies, and a visiting research fellow with the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, where he contributes to research on global governance, international security, and democratic development. He currently serves as the directing staff at the National Institute for Security Studies, where he brings his wealth of experience in international relations, diplomacy, and policy analysis to the training of senior security and intelligence officers. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. And you have the mic for
Thank you so much.
Your discussion.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. I noticed it was my time to speak, and the university administrators don't want Murtala Adogi to tell them to put microwave in my office. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Loud I hear you, Prof. Prof,
all right,
Prof, we can hear you.
All right, that's great. Let me start with the best of greetings, Assalamu alaikum community, for commencing Ramadan. I pray and hope that we end Ramadan in good faith and in sound health. The convener, the lead discussant, and before that, the secretary to the association, today's discussion is very pivotal as it is profound. It is a conversation that involves, not just having access to equity and equality as social justice essentially defines within the institutions of higher learning, but also something that should have a profound effect and influence on the larger society as well. The university, as we're speaking of here today, is a microcosm of what the larger society is, and that's the reason why focus is on universities, or rather, put better, institutions of higher learning. I will start this conversation by laying the foundation for us to have a proper grasp of what we are discussing here. This triangle, the political, economic, and social dimension. And in that pyramid, what upholds the political and, of course, the economy is a social order. It's a triangle. The political angle, the economic angle, the social order is what every other angle balances itself on. And the reason why the social order is that important is because without order, without social order, there is absolutely no way any society is. Where order ceases to exist, society returns back to what Hobbes and Locke have referred to as the state of nature, where life is short, it is nasty, and of course it is brutish. So therefore, the social order is very critical. It is very important as an enabler for society to make any meaningful headway, like I said. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights from the UN essentially speaks to the need to ensure a universal declaration for every human being, the right to life, the right to live in dignity and with respect. And within that framework, there is the right to education. You will also find, just like our lead speaker tried to quote, in various articles of the African Union, where there are sections that speak to ensuring that individuals in society have access to education. Of course, the African Union Agenda 2063 reinforces that position as well, because one of the major components within that speaks to the need to ensure quality education, not just higher education, but education at all levels. And so therefore, it is very critical that this conversation is had and these perspectives are laid bare. Of course, our first constituency is the general public. And so putting the message out there and ensuring that people are aware is the first goal achieved. And so therefore, you would also see that philosophers, pundits, and scholars have alluded to this reality. It was Martin Luther King Jr. who famously remarked that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And so therefore, on the basis of that, you will find that it is essential, it is important. As a matter of fact, it is existential that we ensure that every living human being is given access to education, and not just education, but quality education, and higher education is no exception to that. Institutions of higher learning across the African continent today have become grounds for lopsided admission and so on and so forth. Whereas the ideal situation is to have institutions of higher learning or even the formal education system as a ladder for individuals to be able to ensure that they have equal access, that they have equal opportunities, that they're given equal platforms and frameworks for them to strive and, of course, to be able to thrive. But unfortunately, challenges here and there have stalled and halted access to higher education, let alone quality higher education. Ladies and gentlemen, pardon me for not apologizing ab initio, for not presenting a slide to you. I assumed that as a discussant, I was just going to, make my contributions and that would be it. But to the organizers, where that is required, please let me know. I will ensure to share something with you. Going forward, for us to, contextualize the conversation here and have some meaningful outcomes at the end of the day, 3 fundamental questions have to be asked and, of course, answered. One is this: what structural barriers exist that undermine equity in higher education? The second question is, how can social justice reforms and principles inform any reform, or strategy of government? And thirdly, what practical blueprints can come out of conversations like this that will aid stakeholders, higher institution managers or management, and of course the government, to build an equitable outcome or environment or ecosystem whereby every individual will have equal access to higher education? These are very critical questions that must be asked and, of course, answered. The reason is being, we find that today, like I said ab initio, our institutions of higher learning have become one, grounds for frivolities. You find that today admission favors, and this is speaking from practical experiences, admission favors elite schooling backgrounds. This cuts across both private and public university. Thankfully, yours sincerely has had the privilege of teaching or interacting with both public and private universities, and so firsthand I can speak to these realities. These are unfortunate realities, but they are realities. You find that the admission processes are skewed, such that this is the second point. The tuition is not, is structured in such a way that it excludes certain communities. And even within that community, there is still the excluded community. And so it is extremely difficult for individuals to be able to meet up their obligations of ensuring that their ward or children attain quality, higher education, let alone quality higher education. And then, of course, today our curricula is, lopsided in such a way that indigenous learning has become extremely difficult. Even though we find that the transition from the BMAS to the CCMAS, those who are in the university system quite understand this. These are the regimes or the frameworks for curriculum development in institutions of higher learning. The BMAS was a previous regime. Today we have snowballed or metamorphosed into the CCMAS, which is the global recognized curriculum standard for university education. Even though that to some significant degree has been able to address some of these concerns of curricula and embedding indigenous knowledge, it is still skewed in such a way that it gives, undue advantage to certain individuals of certain background, which also needs to be addressed. And then you also have the issues of the governance system within institutions of higher learning. The reality is it is dominated by elite. It is an elite-driven sort of system. And you see, these are all issues that have made our institutions of higher learning sites for inequality, sites for lack of access to equity, and so on and so forth. Now, it is equally important that we understand or talk about the barriers. What are the barriers to, to equitable higher education across the African continent? One of the major reasons, as has been mentioned by previous speakers, who, by the way, have made my job very easy, one of the major barriers, as we know it today, is the socioeconomic and the social psychological conditioning barrier. The socioeconomic is one category that has offshoots, and there are two crises that embed the socioeconomic barrier. One of them is income inequality. The second is a widening gap in wealth distribution. Again, like I said, these are social issues. These are, if you like, global issues. However, our peculiarities are there. They exist, and we must acknowledge and appreciate our peculiarities. Income inequality is a problem. The larger society is confronted with it, so also it trickles down to higher institution learning, because university education is very costly. That is the reality that we must all embrace. We'll come to talk about funding very shortly. So these socioeconomic issues, like I said, income inequality, and secondly, the widening gap in wealth distribution has created, a society such as Karl Marx has often at times referred to as one where it has been stratified along certain lines. And so you have a society where, the sub and superstructures don't align. And so there's a wide gap between the downtrodden and then, of course, the elite. And that in itself has not really helped. The income inequality is very glaring. And so it becomes problematic. And these issues reinforce one another. where parents do not have, where you find that the earning, this is a population, using Nigeria as a case study, where 60% of the Nigerian population are in the informal sector. That is to say, these are people who go out every day, make a living and return. And marginally, the IMF has said that this is a country where over 65% of the population live below $1 per day. So it's quite difficult for parents who are struggling, whose earning do not even meet the international minimum wage standard, to be able to afford higher education for their ward. And all of these reinforce one another. And so it has created that gap within the higher education ecosystem, such that you find that consciously or subconsciously, a lot of people cannot access higher education. And that is a problem in itself. The second is the social psychological conditioning. We have a mindset challenge, and this is reflective even in our laws and our reforms. Why, for example, in Nigeria, again, I'm situating it within the context of what I'm familiar with, do we have a dichotomy between university and polytechnics? That dichotomy sort of creates a problem. It breeds a lot of, inferiority complex, because it is not just about the title. It is also reflective within the civil service, such that when you have a degree, the sky is your limit. But where you graduate from a polytechnic, there's a certain limit to which you can get to. That dichotomy is being addressed today at Congress or in Congress. The conversation is being had at the highest level at the ministry to ensure that these barriers are removed. However, these barriers still exist. The second is the gender and cultural barrier. Of course, we're Africans by default, we're coming out by default, or people who are bounded by culture. And so therefore, we find that in certain parts of the continent, certain gender or races or sexes are restricted from accessing higher education. This is not just a Nigerian problem. It happened in India as well. The dude who set up MIT had to face a lot of cultural biases and so on and so forth. And that was the brain behind MIT, ensuring that people who are downtrodden, people who are underserved, people who are less privileged also have access to, prestige Ivy League institutions for them to contribute their quota to societal development. And then you have the geographical and, of course, regional inequalities. They're very, very prevalent in across the continent. And this is not just a continent-wide problem, it's a global issue. There are certain parts of the world where individuals cannot access education because of their geographical, disadvantages and so on and so forth. So it becomes problematic where these regions or individuals within these regions cannot access higher education, not for any fault of their own, but because of their geographical settlement and the regional, architecture or configuration. It makes it extremely difficult for them to access quality education. And then, of course, there's also the disability problem. You may add accessibility to that. There's a challenge of disability. I'll give you a very quick example. In a private university where I taught somewhere, one of the pioneer private universities here in Abuja, the university advertised for students with people with disability to enroll, even though it was clear that no resource, no infrastructure had been put in place to accommodate people with disability. But of course, the university was fishing. It was trying to look for money. So it advertised, and we got a student who enrolled with disability. His disability was his eyesight. He couldn't see. He was almost blind. He had paid his school fees like every other student had, and it got to the point where his examinations was to be set. He would come to class. Of course, his hearing was perfect. And after classes, examinations came, and the institution needed to set up certain gadgets, for what you call the special ed equipment to aid this individual to write his exam. It became a problem. University said, well, we don't have the money. It appeared we'd have to let this individual go. It took pressure from some of us to say, no, we cannot do this. The moment you set up these policies, you must ensure that you have what it takes to back and support them. We cannot progress and retrogress at the same time. How the lawyers will say, probate and reprobate. And so we stood our grounds and ensured that, this individual goes through the system just like everybody else. And thanks to that, today this young man works with ECOWAS and is doing fantastically well, contributing to national and regional development. So you find that disability and, of course, accessibility issues are very glaring within that context. And, of course, institutional and systemic barriers, that has been talked about. There are certain barriers within institutions. Universities are set up to, in such a way that certain individuals cannot access them as a result of all of these factors that we have talked about, and these are things that affect the society. Now, the question becomes about how do we break the barriers? One of the things that must be done is that we must rethink access. Equitable access has to be given to all. Again, like I said, higher education is very expensive. And so therefore, let's take Nigeria as a case study. Consecutively in the last 3 years, the list we had was 3 years ago where 1.8 million students applied through, for those who are non-Nigerians, there's a body that sets up a pre-entry exams into the university called the JAMB. JAMB is the board that takes up that responsibility. 1.8 million students applied to enroll into universities. Of that number, only about 30%, representing 400 to 500,000, got enrollment into university. Not even up to that. This has been conservative with the figure. The same happened 2 years ago. Last year, the number was about 2.1 million. And of that number, we could not get 600,000 of them enrolled into university. Mind you, I am not talking about the proportion that failed. Now, that has got nothing to do with it. We're talking about eligible number of people to enroll into universities. A country with about 300, over 300, I think the figure now is 306 universities, not institutions of higher learning. You must count polytechnics and others as well. And of course, like I said earlier, the institutional barriers have blinded people from going to these technical schools, and everybody wants to get the degree, get the certificate, and get out. We have become a degree-conscious society. And so therefore, everybody wants to get a white-collar job. And these are the unfortunate outcomes or consequences of the conversation we're having here. And so with that number, it is difficult. It is something that is telling on an environment like ours, with an environment or a country where 60% of the population fall within the young category. A youth has been defined by the National Youth Policy and the African Charter for Young People as the person who's between the ages of 18 and 40. And we find that that population is sitting idle without access to without access to higher education. I'm sure someday we'll come to have the conversation around quality higher education and so on and so forth. And you see, what we're talking about here with the university or the higher institutions is not just with the higher institutions. We also have, in the context of Nigeria, over 14 million out-of-school children in primary and secondary schools. This number has grown exponentially over the last 10 years. From 10 million, now we are at 13, 14 million. This is quite unfortunate. Even though we have an Almajiri and out-of-school children commission, we have a lot of these frameworks that have been established, but it's still very, very difficult for us to, aggregate. We had to go out of our way and a couple of friends to set up a foundation that ensures that we will be able to absorb these Almajiri. And we went to MBTE, we had a conversation with them, we had a conversation with Empires. And today we're trying to ensure that we train people in collaboration with the Almajiri and Out-of-School Children Commission, such that we will create, because part of the problem is when you churn out these graduates, how do you absorb them? How do you put them to use? And so we're trying to shop for projects here and there, leveraging on the national, the local content national policy to be able to drive that. So these are some of the things that needs to be done. We must rethink access. There has to be equitable access to education. Secondly, financing equity. This is a major challenge.
I'm very sorry, sir, for the interruption. Much as we wanted to give you the opportunity to speak on this matter, I would like to say you have 30 seconds to round up, sir, because of the time constraint.
That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you,
That's fine. All right. So again, to wrap up the conversation, I think it is very important that universities begin to think out of the box to finance themselves. Yale University has made over $1 billion just from last year from selling of patents and so on and so forth. Education is not cheap. if universities want to ensure the key into the social justice and social equity order or framework, it must ensure it finds a way to give back to society. This is speaking to private institutions. And of course, government needs to do a lot on its part to ensure that it also gives back, because the primary responsibility of government, as dictated by the social contract, is to ensure that individuals that give up some rights of theirs are guaranteed other rights of theirs. And chiefly among these rights, even according to our religious doctrines, as has been quoted by the lead speaker, is the right to education. Not just education, but quality education, seen through from the foundational schooling up to the higher institution level. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your rapt attention.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful discussion. Thank you so much for having the time to be with us today and make this excellent presentation.
Let's take the last.
We're going to take the last discussant. Just like I mentioned earlier, each discussant will be assigned only 10 minutes for the discussion. So the next discussant is Awal Ibrahim Musa Rafsanjani. He is the Executive Director of the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center. He also serves as Head of Transparency International Nigeria and Chairman of the Board of Trustees of Amnesty International Nigeria. And he is the Chairman of the Transition Monitoring Group. Rafsanjani, if you can hear me, you have the mic for your discussion. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Let me first and foremost express my appreciation for being part of this very important conversation. It is a very important topic that we believe if authority can take some of the recommendations that so far have been proposed, will help to strengthen the educational inequality in Nigeria. So my take will be from the perspective of corruption in the educational sector, which also help to accelerate inequality, injustice, deprivation, and of course, the poor, quality education that we all needed. As we all know, first and foremost, because the Nigerian elite who have benefited from, or rather most of the African leaders, but in particular Nigerian elite who have benefited from, quality education, quality support of education. Now they have decided to deprive many Nigerians from obtaining quality education, from refusal to finance education in a manner that they will really have to bring quality and sustainable education in Nigeria. That is why you see in the last, since 20, for example, in the last, if you take from 2010 to date, we are not even able to meet up with the UNESCO recommendation on the minimum percentage of the annual budget that should be invested in education. In Nigeria, you find out that the federal government, has not actually paid much attention in terms of financing of education. It is always falling short of the recommended percentage of our annual budget. At the state level, it's even the worst, because you see some states governors, they will rather prioritize frivolous and dubious projects that has nothing to do with the development or bridging inequality and ensuring that you have, human capital investment through quality education and bridging, of course, injustice. In various states, you will see that education is neglected. You will see that the money that they budgeted for some thing, and including also a fraudulent sponsorship of pilgrimage, and this is both in the north and the south. You see the amount sometimes is 4 times, 3 times than money budgeted for education and healthcare in their states. and yet they think that they are comfortable with that. Meanwhile, they were beneficiary of quality education and support. In fact, during their university days, they were, given, poultry meal square, their clothes, laundry. They don't do any laundry. They get all the necessary, books, laboratories, and everything. But now they have come to make sure that the education is actually at the backside, despite the various numerous intervention, both from the primary to the secondary school to the university. The quality of education in Nigeria has declined seriously, especially after 80s. Most of the people that graduated before after 90s, you see that they are not actually the same with the people who have graduated in the 60s, in the 70s and 80s. The quality is not the same. Secondly, because they didn't really care about investing even on the infrastructure. One of the previous speakers talk about having infrastructure. I think really, if you check the various states, you discover that there has not been any quality infrastructure even for conducive learning. Even rich states like Akwa Ibom, just check what is happening in those places. The dilapidation in terms of the infrastructure is such that you could not actually understand how such a state that received like 7 times of a budget from maybe one of the northern states, and yet in terms of the infrastructure, they are not really doing well in the school. Primary school is dilapidated. Secondary school is not actually given that much attention. Even the university, because of the corruption, as I mentioned, in terms of the infrastructure, you see that project will start and it will be abandoned. So with such kind of thing that you are not able to provide even the teaching facilities, the equipment, the laboratories, there's no way you can actually, have a quality education. Many of our universities, they have forgotten about research. They don't conduct any research, and I cannot understand how a university or a higher institution can actually, be a hope of learning when they don't pay attention to research. The funding is absolutely not there or is not prioritized. University lecturers that are supposed to be doing researches, they are not doing that. If you compare it with what you see in Europe and America and Asia, all the technologies that you see are innovation from the universities. If you take, design of even cars, the engineers in the universities in Michigan, they are the leading, people that are bringing all that. Even the economy, the universities are providing, blueprint, are supporting governance. Nowadays, you do not see those kind of innovation coming from the universities because the university are totally, or rather the education has been totally mismanaged. So apart from the issue of scandal you see in admission, because part of the problem you also have in our higher learning institution now is that there's so much racketeering around admission. People who deserve to be admitted, they are substituted with the children of, people who concern not. So despite the fact that you have gotten the required score, you may not be able to get admission, especially if you are from a vulnerable, community or parent. So because your parent did not have money to pay bribe, you may not get admission. Additionally, you will see that also what is also adding this injustice and inequality is, of course, it has to do with the sexual exploitation and abuses. we have just recently succeeded in ensuring that a particular lecturer who was using his position to take advantage of female student pays the law. ICPC actually took that matter along together with CISLA. We collaborated with them because what we see in many of the higher institutions is that you, during the exam or during the admission, there's this unfair, sexual exploitation by some of the university official. So this is also, downplaying the morals of a student. It is also a well-known fact that even if the government budgeted money, you see this money is diverted. So there are a lot of barriers that create inequality and injustice in attaining quality education in Nigeria. There's so much that needs to be done in order to bridge this social injustice that as a result of which many people are not able to proceed to higher learning, and it create condition for deepening poverty in our communities, because when young people have nothing to do, they result into violence activities, they result into getting into drugs, and that's, is a very fundamental challenge. And this really helps to undermine development in our country, because the younger people who are supposed to focus and also have access to quality education are not able to, because there is so much around the challenges that we are facing in terms of access to quality education, access to also resources, like, for example, having scholarship or bursary, award to be able to finance their education. So, and then again, this, like I said earlier, it also helps to deepen gender discrimination. And there's no way a society can progress with such kind of mindset of gender inequality or gender inequality in the educational sector, because there's absolutely no way you can be able to improve and overcome the challenges of inequality, the challenges of injustice in the society, because when a teeming population becomes idle and they have nothing to do, they have become also a source of recruitment for all sorts of vices, including banditry, kidnapping, and even terrorism. So the Nigerian government and many countries in Africa must prioritize education as a means of bridging injustice, as a means of building the human capital development. Because if a country do not build its human resource, it will be lacking in everything. And that is why you see the idea of having a system that will create and overcome these issues to ensure that we have access to quality education. We also have a very transparent funding of education, and ensuring that girls and boys are also protected against sexual exploitation in the university or higher institution is very necessary. And to also ensure that the National Assembly and the state assemblies, they also play their own role in terms of oversight. It's not enough just to make the budgetary thing, but also through your oversight, which they misunderstood in many times, because oversight is about going to identify what are the gaps, what are the issues. Is the funding adequate? If it is not adequate through your oversight, you will not it. You will see if the funding is not needed in a particular sector, you can channel it to another sector. Or is it the problem of a policy or the legal framework? Then through your oversight, you will be able to identify that gap and come back to the legislature, to the parliament, to ensure that you address that gaps. But what we see now is outright cash and carry. Just last year, the National Assembly in Nigeria was accused, a particular committee that supersees or supervises a higher institution in Nigeria was accused of outright extortion and bribery during their oversight. With the little amount they provided, they are still collecting more money from those institutions. So I think they need to take measures to deal with the corruption in educational sector in order to bridge inequality, injustice, and provide the level playing ground for both female and male counterparts. But more importantly, also, I want to say that the inability of our higher learning institution to focus on entrepreneurship, program, and also skill development is also one of the challenges that we have, because we need to bring options for young people or for anybody who will want to learn skill, because some people may not be able to have the intellectual capacity to pursue a particular line of discipline like science or technology. Maybe they could be good in skills acquisition. So if we have a diversity, or we have a deliberate policy that will ensure that people who are unable to go to university, but they can still learn certain skills to be able to be productive in the society and support even the economy. Because when people are not doing anything, the tendency is that they are available for any possible recruitment of either political violence, religious violence, communal violence, and all sort of crises that undermine development in Nigeria. But if people are engaged, if people are productively engaged, I believe that we will have the lasting solution of our instability or crisis that we have in Nigeria. And therefore, they must see education as a big barrier to closing the gap in terms of inequality, in terms of injustice, in terms of also ensuring that people have become productive so that they can support the economy, so that they can also have a dignity of livelihood. Because we cannot continue to have majority of people living in a very undignified even labor. There's no anybody in Nigeria, or rather let me say majority of people in Nigeria, and that also in some other African countries, the wages they have cannot barely take them more than 1 week, because government have decided, in many countries in Africa, government have decided to withdraw subsidy in healthcare system, subsidy in transportation facilities, subsidy even in the education, subsidy in various places that will have helped mitigate the poverty that they have. So anyway, sorry, I will round up. Yeah. So all I'm saying is that there's need to re-examine our, financing of education, financing of other social sector, in order to mitigate the inequality, the inaccessibility, and also the social crisis that students face when they are in the university. And we need to block the leakages by ensuring that corruption and bribery in admission, exam leakage, and all these are addressed. This is the only way we can improve the quality of education and allow the vulnerable children to be in the university. The private university is good, but then we must not abandon public university, because in the 70s and 80s in many of the African countries, they do not know anything called private universities. But we cannot deceive ourselves that we cannot have in existence private university or private higher learning, because they need to complement the one that we have from the from the public sector. But let the public one also be upgraded, be taken care, improve their quality, so that they will be able to join with the private university or private tertiary institutions to complement and bridge the inequality and injustice and educational failure in our countries in Africa and Nigeria in particular. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your contribution. We are really grateful for the opportunity you have given us to share your perspective concerning this important topic. We are really grateful for being here with us, sir. We are moving to the next item, which is the question and answers. And we are going to take questions from the online audience first before we take questions from the physical audience, if there is. So the first question is directed to Dr. Adogi. It says, how can we expand universities in the midst of unethical leaders? And I would like to implore the speakers to try as much as they can to keep their responses to only 1 minute because of the time. Okay, I learned Dr. Adogi is not there. So I don't know if any of the speakers can take the question. It says, how can we expand universities in the midst of unethical leaders?
If I can suggest something, I think it is possible. I think first and foremost, university is supposed to be a place of higher moral standard and value. And if we are now having challenges from where we're supposed to actually emulate and learn good conduct, then it's a huge challenge. So first and foremost, universities, before they then give these fake degrees and fake awards to crooks, politicians, just for the purpose of having certification. Nowadays, you see proliferation of so many so-called, professors or doctors awarded unmerit from the universities. That must stop. Secondly, the fact that some of the lecturers, they spend more time outside than in the university, depriving even their students from quality learning and teaching, need to be actually changed, because what the university is producing out there is what is going to reflect in governance systems. So today, because the standard of our quality education has fallen, that is also contributing to the failure in leadership. We don't have leadership recruitment process in the country, but university was supposed to prefer leaders that can be able to be responsive and responsible and act, as our either bureaucrat or as our political leaders. But in the university, you have that challenges of not having even the right persons to help in terms of ensuring that they produce the quality leaders with value, with morals, with ethics that will now come to the governance system in the country. So that has to be rectified as a way of addressing the unethical leadership, role you have in Nigeria and Africa.
Thank you so much, Esther. Okay. The lead speaker, would you want to shed more light on this?
Or even Professor.
Or Professor Mukhtar Imam? Oh, okay, so I think let's take the next question.
Well, does the...
Go ahead, sir.
Well, very quickly, I just want to say that in relation to the question that has been asked, it's about institutional structures and, of course, leadership structures in society, or vis-a-vis leadership structure. In the face of the sort of leaders we have in society, how do we ensure that our institutions are up and doing? The issue is, just like with every social issue, there is no single cause. All social issues have multi-layered and multifaceted causes, and so also do their solutions. The solutions must be multi-layered, they must be multifaceted, they must be multidimensional. There's no silver bullet to addressing the challenge. The reality is, what we see today in leadership is a reflection of who we are from the bedrock of our society. It's not about institutions of learning. It's about parenting style and the sort of individuals that we bring up. We must all agree that those in position of authority today are the people who, the earlier speaker said, have benefited from immensely from quality education in this country, and these are the people depriving the younger generation of quality education. So I believe that the systems in themselves must be rectified. There's the need for a holistic overhaul for us to be able to have conversations that are forward thinking and that would bear meaningful results. We must have, when you take the ratio of quality teacher to student in universities or any institution of learning, for example, you find it wanting. What is the incentive for going into teaching in the first place? What is the motivation? How much is the teacher paid in this country? So when you look at these things pari passu, you come to the realization that the issues are multidimensional. Proliferation of universities is not in itself a problem, but it's the quality of the instructors, the quality of product that these universities are churning out. That is where the major challenge is. Other countries that are not as much in population as we are have over 400-500 universities. Go to Japan, for example, and so on and so forth. So I do believe that the issues as raised are multidimensional, they are multifaceted. However, university management must be seen to be up and doing. That's the reason why
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for this. I think that is all we can take from the questions. We have a lot of questions, but because of the time factor, we will have to restrict the question to only this one. So I would like to give the mic to Dr. Habib, the Vice President Administration of Maria Abacha American University of Nigeria, to make his own comments. Dr. Habib.
Thank you very much. I want to use this opportunity to commend the efforts of the Association of African Private Universities for celebrating this important day across the world. I have the feeling that higher education is a powerful tool for advancing social justice across Africa. You will agree with me, when access to quality education is provided, universities can empower individuals and communities to challenge the systemic inequalities and advocate for their rights. You see, Africa has been bedeviled with this series of challenges in terms of social justice. We can say that historical injustice and socio-economic disparities persist in Africa. Therefore, higher education institutions can play a transformative role by promoting critical thinking, if you like, fostering inclusive challenge, and generating knowledge that addresses present social issues. So the speakers, the presenters were able to address these issues. And although research, if you like, we can say that through research and community engagement, African universities can help address issues like poverty, inequality, climate change, and so on and so forth, which disproportionately affect marginalized groups. So by promoting access to education, I want to say that, especially for the underrepresented groups, such as women and rural communities, higher education can help bridge socioeconomic gaps. And of course, through this, it can promote more equitable societies. As Africa, I want to say that Africa has continued to struggle
in terms of provision of social justice and so on and so forth. So as Africa continues to grow and develop, investing in higher education is crucial for building a more just and equitable future for all. So I want to say that platforms like Association of African Private Universities are doing a lot, and this will go a long way in complementing the efforts of the African universities in trying to address some of these challenges. So I want to commend the speakers, the guest speakers, and indeed the contributors, because a lot has been said, and this is one way of discussing some of these pressing issues, and it will go a long way in addressing the burning socio-economic and political issues affecting Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Habib, for your contribution. So to round up this session, I would like to return the mic to our previous speakers for their final words. Let me return the mic to Dr. Abdulatif Wale Adeyemo for his final words. Sir, you have just a minute for your final words, sir.
So, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh again. Actually, okay, the only addition point that I want to add is the issue, if you could be able to discover, I base my argument on the government, but the only area that I want to talk briefly is the issue of our society. We have a lot of things to do to assist the government. For example, in a situation when the government is trying to pursue the roadmap, that is to say, blueprints, the society also needs to assist government by make everything intact and then by assisting government. This is because in a situation when government provide institution as well as the lecturers, then among our speaker, they say corruption, no corruption, or whatever may be the case. It is mean that it is our own. It is the issue of a corruption is we masses. So what I'm trying to say is this: if government provide maybe institution, for example, now, sometimes you reach one university and then maybe during the vacation, majority of the property of the university will be taken away. By who? So what I'm saying now is that anything that government provide, we masses also, we should be able to assist government to manage it and then not to corrupt the government policy. Salaam alaikum.
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate your final words. I will also give the mic to Professor Farhia Muhammad for her final words. Just like I have given Prof 1 minute, so you also have just a minute for your final words. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. My final word is going to be how we can manage to build a future. As we communicate or discuss on this part, we like to know exactly a way that we can give our children a better future, to have a equitable higher education. So, and I'm really appreciate that I was being part of this event, and I hope so we can meet up again. Assalamu alaikum.
What a precise response. Thank you so much. The next person is Professor Imam Mukhtar. Professor Imam Mukhtar, your final words, please, in 1 minute.
Okay. Yes, please. All right. Thank you very much. So I'll return to my earlier quote by Martin Luther King that says, and I quote, that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And we must understand that as a people, social issues, social problems are multidimensional, and they're multifaceted, and they're multi-layered, and their solutions must take the same paradigm. So therefore, we must come together as a collective to address the societal problems that confront us. And I hope that we will be able to reflect that in our lives and in the lives of our children and the society at large. Thank you very much for the opportunity to engage.
Okay, thank you so much, Asa. Then Dr. Murtala Adogi Mohammed, your final words, sir. Is Dr. Murtala there? Okay, it's like he's not there. So let me return the mic to Malam Awal Ibrahim Musa Sanjani for his final words.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that if we deprive, citizens quality and accessible education, then you will be creating a unproductive society that will not add value and that will create nuisance to the population. So it is important to prioritize, financing of education and also giving space and access to everybody, both women and female, so that they can acquire quality education and support development effort of our continent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate your efforts, your sacrifice to ensuring that you attend this particular event. And for the participants online, we will try and ensure that you have the copy of each of the slides presented. So I'd like to hand over the mic to Professor Abubakar Sadiq, who is the Secretary General of the Association of African Private Universities, for his vote of thanks. But before then, I would like to invite Engineer Bashir for his contribution. So Engineer Bashir, we'll put it together.
So thank you very much. I will just do a closing remark for this webinar, Breaking Barriers, Building Futures, a Social Justice Grouping for Equitable Higher Education, organized by the Association of Private Universities today, 21st February 2026. The introduced guest speakers, esteemed discussants, respected governor, colleagues, partners, and participants across Africa and beyond. As we bring this second webinar to a close, we do so with a renewed sense of purpose and responsibility. Today's engagement has gone far beyond commemorating the World Day of Social Justice. It has provided a strategic platform for interrogating the structural, institutional, and policy barriers that continue to limit equitable access, participation, and outcomes within Africa higher education systems. Our guest speaker offered a compelling framework linking law governance and institutional accountability to social justice outcomes. Our discussions enriched the dialogue with multidisciplinary insight, highlighting gender inclusion, security dynamics, governance transparency, and system-level policy innovation. Collectively, the discourse has underscored the critical message. Social justice in higher education is not accidental. It is designed, implemented, measured, and sustained through deliberate leadership. For the Association of African Private University, AAPU, this conversation aligns directly with our continental mandate. Private universities in Africa are uniquely positioned not only as knowledge producers, but as catalysts for inclusion, innovation, and sustainable development. However, the role requires intentional strategies, equitable admission policies, inclusive learning environment, social, ethical governance structure, digital accessibility, and partnership that prioritize marginalized communities. The team Breaking Barriers, Building Futures is therefore both aspirational and operational. Breaking barriers requires confronting systematic inequalities, economic, gender-based, geographic, and digital. Building futures demand collaborative policy action, institutional reform, and measurable commitments. As we leave this virtual space, let us carry forward three imperatives. One, institutional commitment, embedded social justice principle into governance frameworks, curriculum design, and student support system. 2, collaborative action, strengthening partnership across universities, civil society, and policymakers to scale inclusive models. 3, accountability and impact measurement, move from declaration to data-driven implementation and demonstrate real outcome. On behalf of the leadership of AAPU, we reaffirm our commitment to advancing inclusive higher education across Africa. This webinar is not an endpoint, it is part of an ongoing contented dialogue and home agenda. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Engineer Bashir. Then the vote of thanks will be delivered by the Secretary General, Professor Abubakar Sadiq Haruna.
Thank you so much. What goes around surely will come around. Well, this has been a very fantastic presentation for today. No doubt, the World Day of Social Justice, we have tried to make justice to this day by bringing these very prominent erudite scholars to discuss this issue. I think the association mission of inclusivity in our member institutions is being addressed by this presentation. I want to, on behalf of the president of the association and the leadership of AAPU, to extend our foremost gratitude and appreciation to our guest speaker, Dr. Abdul Latif Wale Ademu, the Dean of the Faculty of Law, for taking time to research into this issue and sharing his scholarly viewpoints with us. This is quite commendable. Sparing your time to come up with issues that address contemporary problems in our university in respect to equity, justice, and of course, inclusivity. It's something that we are quite impressed with. I would thank you for your time and hope that when next we invite you, you will spare time to participate and patronize our program. And glad to see AAPU, IUIU is a member of AAPU, and we are seeing to bring in one of our programs to Uganda soon, so that we'll have the opportunity of sharing the good aspect of the IUIU of private universities, one of the successful private universities in Africa. I will also not forget to thank Professor Farhia Muhammad, whom I contacted just very lately prior to this discussion, or to this event. And without hesitation, she gave in her consent of participating. And I must confess that her presentation was fantastic, even though she wasn't the key speaker, a keynote, like the guest speaker, but she is a guest discussant. And we are quite impressed by your discussion, because the viewpoints you are bringing from the East African sub-region has actually added more to this discussion. And from the female gender perspective, I think you have been a very good representation in this discussion. We thank you so much and hope that you will patronize us anytime we invite you to our discussion. I thank you, and I hope we'll keep this memory with us for life. Professor Imam Mokhtar, a very busy security expert, and of course in the directing staff of the National Institute of Security Studies. We are very happy to have you, because the perspective you brought into this discussion has actually bridged that section of inequality from the security point of view and from the social perspective point of view. We have learned so much from your discussion, and we have seen that the pool of knowledge you have in this area can go on and on to enrich the university system in terms of equity and fairness in admission, and in actualizing inclusivity, especially as it relates to the less privileged and disabled individuals. Thank you very much for sparing your time. I know how busy you are, but you have been able to stay with us from the beginning to the end of it. We are very much appreciative of that. I also will not forget to commend, to appreciate the work and the time of another very busy fellow, Dr. Murtala Adogi Muhammad. He was one time in the academics, but decided to run out of academics when he got the taste of working with the United Nations. And since then, he ran out of the academics and is now doing very well in his area. And we have seen a lot of contributions from his point. Dr. Murtala, we still need you in the academic sector because your contribution, we cannot just allow you to go like that. Even if you are leaving academics, you have to come back and give some touches. And that's why we continue to utilize that pool of knowledge. You have no doubt come up with very big questions. And the questions actually we have taken note of these questions, and we are going to look at how to find answers to this question. I know they are pregnant questions, but they are also very timely. We shall work towards putting these questions together and perhaps even contact you for more other romances to see how we can package up the questions and see how we can table them to the appropriate channels. Dr. Murtala Adogi, we are very much happy that you are here with us, and we hope that each time we organize this kind of event, you will come with your pool of knowledge. Murtala is from the system strategy, and we have seen how he has been doing very well in bringing a lot of things, issues, innovating a lot of ideas in repositioning the society. We hope and wish you very best of luck in your present endeavor, and hope that you will have a time to share your ideas with the academics. That is the right place you want to. Thank you so much. Our CISLAC director, everybody, we're all aware of the effort of CISLAC in ensuring one of these, the CISLAC is a household name in Nigeria and even the African sub-region. We have seen how Comrade Awal Ibrahim Musa Rafsanjani has been very, very vocal and advocating for justice in virtually all sectors of human life. The idea of bringing him here was conceived by the association so that we can balance some of the pressure issues, which, of course, Rafsanjani is a very good player in this area. And we have seen from his discussion how he has done justice to this area by touching all aspects of corruption that have impact on education, especially higher education. We have learned so much from you, and I'm sure even the participants have also made a series of comments in this area about your presentation. We are glad that you are here, and we hope that you continue to patronize us each time we request that. You are no doubt a material to reckon with, and we thank you so much for sparing your time. We know how tight schedules you have, but despite all these tight schedules, you have given us your time. We are very much happy. We will not forget to also acknowledge the presence of the Vice President academics of the Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria, Dr. Habib Awais Abubakar, who has also spoken very well about, the institution as the Mariam Abacha and how they try to ensure equity and relatively justice in admission and some other placement as it relates to students with challenges. And in the university, we have seen how the management of the university is handling issues of this nature. We thank you for your contribution and hope that you will continue to be with us each time we require that. We thank you and we thank all those that have been with us from the beginning of the program to the end of it. And no doubt we'll keep your record in our archives and we'll continue to acquaint you with the development of higher education in Nigeria and actually in Africa. And we'll also request you at any point in time to partner with us to see how we can improve Africa and enrich an African child accordingly. The president of the association is not here, but he's here in spirit. He has been very busy because he has been out of town, so he's unable to participate actively in this program. But he has asked us to share his gratitude to you all, and he will find a time where we all can come to rub stomach and stomach together to come up with the best for African private universities soon. That is a message we're passing across to you. And once we schedule a time, we shall invite you all to interface with us and see how we can put the system in order. No doubt, African education is undergoing a very serious transformation. It requires competent hands to make sure that this transformation is put in place. On behalf of all and in absence of all, I wish to thank you and wish you all the best. And on this note, I want to draw this curtain and close this session for today and hope that in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll come up with another program, which will also invite you to patronize us. Thank you so much, all, and wish you a safe return to your various zones, although you are in your comfort home. Wish you the best of luck and have the best time throughout the weekend. So bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Oh. Thank you.